I'm Charles Loveday and my wife Peggy, and was just so happy to invite everyone here to celebrate a milestone. I mean, this is really important. Adger's first book, Volume 1, and we anticipate Volume 2, 3, and 4 in the next 4 years. But Adger and I go back about 40 years, and he's inspired me in so many ways, and he's really the heart of my family and Peggy's family. So Peggy, please.
Well, you know, I first met Adger when I worked at Black Enterprise magazine, and Ed Childs, who was the art director, started having black photography shows every year. And so that's the first time I met Adger and Tony Barbosa and a whole group of black photographers. And then I was a part of the Nzinga Society, and we were a group of women, black women in communications, who gave an auction every year that raised money for the arts. And we gave a Betty Saar piece to the Studio Museum, and you know, we supported the Children's Art Carnival and a whole host of groups. And Adger was a part of the artists who also came to that event and, you know, displayed their work and exhibited. And that's when I introduced him to my sisters and my family. And it's been a wonderful, dynamic time over the years. We've collected some of his art, which you will see around the house, and we're just so happy to be able to, you know, have this milestone with Adger. So I want to hear from him. As all of you know who know Adger, he has a million stories, and we've been entertained over the years with so many of those stories. So he can speak for himself, please. Adger Cowans, wonderful artist, wonderful photographer.
Yeah.
Boy! Boy! Hard time to look. Anyway, I appreciate everybody showing up today. All of you are very special to me. Everybody that's here is very special to me. And I appreciate you being here and supporting me. It only took years for me to get this book out. And I have to thank Nadira Hussain. Where are you, Nadira? Who saw my work in an exhibition with me and John Penderhughes, and she walked by a picture and she said, "Oh, I like that picture. I deal with photography, but I don't hang photography in my house. But I would hang that picture." I said, "That's great." And she said, "Well, who represents her?" I said, "Nobody.com." And she said, "Well, I would love to represent you." And from there, 3 years later, we have this book, and I'm so excited about this book because it covers 50 years of my photography, starting in the 50s to the present time. 50 years.
I started working with you at 90 and you look so good.
I know.
You know George would say something.
Yeah. And I appreciate you all being here and purchasing my book. And we look forward to 3, 4, and 5. You know.
Adger, say where you're from.
I was originally born in Columbus, Ohio. I grew up there. Thank you. Columbus, Ohio. And then I came to New York, and I worked with Gordon Parks when I got out of school. And at the end of that summer, I went into the Navy, and I spent 2 years there, and I came back, and I worked with Gordon, and we remained friends throughout for the rest of his life. And I'm so thankful that this book, you know, this is history now. I'm ready to, you know.
No, you are.
Well, not yet.
Next planet. We're on the next planet. Next planet.
And Adger, talk about your photographs of movies. And
I worked in the movie industry for years.
I saw you in a movie the other day as an extra. He's an extra. Yeah, I did.
I also had a couple of sort of semi-starring roles in a movie. What's the name of the movie? I'm not Rappaport. Where I played the saxophone, and I've been in a couple other movies. But I started working in the movie industry. I went to see Sidney Poitier, who was interested in a black photographer working on a film of his. And he looked at my book, and then he didn't say anything, walked out, and his producer said, "There's a guy at UA that's doing a picture of Cotton Comes to Harlem." And that was the first picture that I worked on as a still photographer. And I've done 30 some odd pictures. The Way We Were, The Eyes of Our Mars, On Golden Pond, Dirty Dancing, etc., etc. And I have enjoyed a terrific career. And when I made money, I took my money and I traveled. I didn't spend it over here and over there. I made money, I traveled. I lived in Morocco, I lived in Paris, France, London, Rome, based on the money I made in the movie industry. And I worked with lots of people. Henry Fonda, Katherine Hepburn, Jane Fonda, you name them. Diane Carroll, she's in the book, right? Francis Ford Coppola, Ossie Davis, lots, yep, Andy Garcia, her favorite. And lots of others. Spike Lee, there you go, Bill Duke.
Talk about, well, those are the actors. What about the directors? What about being a photographer on the set in front of a Sidney Lumet?
Working on the set in front of Sidney Lumet was fantastic. I learned so much from Sidney Lumet because not only was he a director, he was also what I call old style filmmaker. He had his own finder, he set the camera for every shot, and I just learned so much from him. He did 2 weeks of rehearsals before he shot. He did maybe 3 takes. That's as many as he would do. And he knew what he wanted, and he'd mark them off as we did. And at the end of the day, he said, that's it, we're through. And we ended early on all those pictures that I worked with him. Francis Ford Coppola is another person. Very nice man. He never yelled on the set. You know, some directors, things don't go right, they yell. He never yelled on the set. I worked with Bill Duke, another great director. We were working on a picture called The Cemetery Club, and a couple of ladies were having problems. He called them aside, he walked away from the set. Now I didn't hear what he was saying, but he was standing like this while they were talking like that. And then when they finished, he said, came back sitting. And we went on with the shooting and everything was fine. So the visual language, that's so important to me. I learned everything that way, even from a child. And people would say, you didn't see that. And I'd say, I saw that. Because I had something, I don't know what you call it. But I used to see things, and I understood everything in my life by what I have seen. And the actions and movements of people. And I think that's so important to translate to younger artists coming up.
And you're a painter.
And I'm a painter. If you want to see some paints, that's the Adger Cowans painting room over there. And this is the photography.
The honorary wing.
Yeah, the honorary wing. Now, did I cover everything? Anybody else got anything to say?
No, there's too much. It's impossible.
Right, thank you.
You didn't mention Kamonge.
The musician.
Adger, you didn't mention Kamonge. And your
I am a member of Kamonge, which is a group of photographers, which I was one of the founding members. And the idea was that we could photograph our people in a way that nobody else could. Not that they weren't good or as good, but we felt that we had a certain sensitivity, being African Americans, to photograph our own people. I'm also a member of a group called AfriCOBRA, the African Commune of Bad Relevant Artists, which had the same concept that we wanted to make art for our people first. Anything else?
Is there anyone that likes to do something anecdotal about Adger?
Oh, I knew it.
Could you talk about the musicians and the other artists that you have worked with?
Oh, lots of musicians. I photographed Dexter Gordon. I photographed Miles Davis. I photographed a lot of musicians because music was the first thing that I came up, or the first thing that I was going to do as a career was music. That I really knew and was good at. But the summer that I got out of school, I had a scholarship to Capital University. And I had a great teacher, Mr. Freitag, and he taught me to play the trumpet without pushing. So I learned all these techniques, and they were going to give me a full scholarship, but I had to go back to high school and brush up on my math and English, and I didn't want to do that. And so my mother said, you'll be the first black, and I said, I don't care, I'm not going back. So she said, well, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to join the Marines with my buddy Charles. So they had the buddy system, man. You join with your buddy and you go to boot camp together. So I went down, join the Marines, you know. And the day that we got sworn in, you know, he said, hold up your hand. Do you first do so-and-so? I do. And do you promise? I do. And do you promise to die first? They said, put your hand up, Marine. I said, I'm not a Marine yet. So I went home, and my mother said, I thought you would join the Marines. I said, well, they said I'd be dying first. I didn't like that, you know. So my sister's boyfriend had a magazine, one of the few magazines at that time that had photography, and I was flipping through it and it said, OU gives degree in photography. I thought, oh, great, girls. You know. So I showed it to my mother. I said, yeah. She said, well, my father said, that's ridiculous. Why don't you choose something that's important? I said, well, my mother said, honey, that's what he wants to do. Let him do it. So my mother was an amateur photographer, so I went to OU and I studied photography there for 4 years, and then I came to New York.
And to talk about Beardy.
About Romare Beardy. I love Romare because he brought younger artists in, and he would not necessarily mentor them, but he would talk to them and say how he felt about their work. And Romy lived not too far from me. So when I did the first water show, I asked him to write something, and he was very excited. And he looked at the picture and said, Adger, I want to learn photography. So I was teaching Romy photography just before he passed, you know, 8x10 cameras. He was very excited about it. But and then there's Gordon. Gordon did not teach me photography. Some people think he taught me photography. He didn't. I had a degree in photography when I came to New York. But what I learned from Gordon was how to take negative energy and turn it into positive energy. And that was very, very important to me. Plus, being cool. Because Gordon was the epitome of cool. And so I learned that from him. So, anything else?
Yeah, what about Norman Lewis?
Norman Lewis, to me, I never knew the dearth of Norman's work until a couple of years ago. And I liked his work very much, and I like Kandinsky. But when I saw the whole breadth of Norman's work last year in Philadelphia, I realized that we were kindred spirits when I looked at my work and his work. And I had never seen, but I felt a kinship with his work, very much so. And my friend Carlos allowed me to travel. When I first went to Morocco, I called Carlos. I said, Carlos, I got to ask you, why don't you take my loft? So he took my loft, and he called me and said, when are you coming back? I said, I don't know. So I was in Morocco for a year. So when I went to Brazil, I called Carlos. I got it. He said, okay. So Carlos was always there. Helping me out.
He's signed the book and he's blaming me for having run amok. I read his bio. Character is his destiny.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.